Man, these boats are certainly sleek.
Not as big as I thought it might be, though.
Hi, folks. We're excited about today's show. Paul and I are going to be going down the Gander River. People from all over the world come to experience the beauty and the excitement of the Gander.
We'll be going down in the traditional Gander River boats. We'll be going through some rough water, some beautiful scenery. It's amazing to see how these guys can handle a boat.
Well, with over 20 years' experience, no wonder. The Gander River is also one of the best salmon rivers in all of Newfoundland and Labrador, so we're going to try our hand at a few flicks.
Looks like the boys have the boats ready. Do you want to take off?
I'm anxious. Let's get going.
Okay.
Newfoundland Sportsman with Dwight Blackwood and Paul Amundsen. On today's show, Dwight and Paul will be traveling the beautiful Gander River, where they'll be fishing for one of the world's most prized sport fish, the mighty Atlantic salmon. They will also be taking a closer look at this historical river and the unique boats that bear its name. The Gander River is located in the northeastern corner of the island of Newfoundland and runs out of Gander Lake, which is one of the deepest bodies of fresh water in North America, reaching a depth of over 1,200 feet. The river runs its course for approximately 36 miles, dropping in elevation some 96 feet before emptying into Gander Bay. Big Chute is one of the few areas on the Gander River which has fast-flowing water and may have assisted in the evolution of the Gander River boat. Traditionally used as a highway to transport people and supplies to many places along the river has now become one of the most sought-after cottage areas in the province. As you travel this pristine river, you'll have ample opportunity to view some of the abundant wildlife. But of course, the Gander River is world-renowned for its Atlantic salmon.
This is just some beautiful scenery down here, right?
Sure is.
Great trip down.
Germ, that was
Beautiful country.
fantastic. This was a beautiful trip so
Pretty
far.
Pretty nice day, and nice weather helps the whole thing.
Oh, yeah. Just so picturesque down here, right?
Man, that scenery, spectacular. All those big birch trees, beautiful.
Well, I tell you, when you come down, you've got a very narrow spot. There was some place there where to come down with the boats. There was rocks here and rocks there, and pretty narrow gate to get down through, eh? You gotta know your river.
The guides say that they know where all the rocks are because they probably hit them all at least once. So, I mean, and over the years, I guess they have. And of course, they move around in the wintertime with the ice flow. So it's
I guess,
makes for exciting times.
I suppose the first run or two in the spring, you've got a new river almost when they're this low.
To some extent, certainly some of the rocks move around, and they've got to be very mindful of that. But those fellows, of course, being at it for so long, they're pretty experienced.
Well, we never hit once.
Oh, no.
Couldn't believe it.
Oh, I'd be surprised if you hit it all. But occasionally they nudge up against them. Sometimes it's intentional just to get the action to move the boat around to go through some of the narrow channels.
What I was surprised with was the speed you're coming down. I mean, I could see on the side the rocks were submerged and they weren't very below the water very much, and their speed was just banging coming through. And I was,
Those fellas go up there in the dark and they can still go and navigate that system pretty well.
That was excellent. Well, I must say it was a great trip down.
They sort of had a wider stern, and which is right the opposite of what they are right now.
Coming up, a closer look at the famous Gander River boat.
To coax down some whiskey jacks. They're around all of the camps, really. There's as bold a bird as you're going to get. They'll actually come down and take it right from your hand. And they'll take it and store it in the trees and then come back again for more.
Yes, I'd say my grandfather and my father and the people of that generation was the ones that's about 75, 80 years ago. They started building those boats in the beginning. And they started in Gander Bay. Most every family in Gander Bay could build a boat. And back in the early 40s, they started the outboard motors, and then that's when the boats started to take on the shape that they take on right now, actually. They sort of had a wider stern, and which is right the opposite of what they are right now. Right now they've got a boat that's wide up front. If you look at a river boat and look at the shape of a salmon, she's pretty close. She's just wide in front and then tapers back behind her. And the first ones that were built were widening in the stern, and they used to actually wedge in the water. It wasn't doing a good job. But then, like I say, they changed them and changed them. These boats are made from local material. Years ago, they used to use fir plank, spruce keel basically, and juniper ribs. The Gander River boat, when you get used to it, the way the boat behaves and handles, she is a very, very sturdy boat. Very, very sturdy. You can move around into it with ease when you get used to the boat. But people that's not used to boats, they don't, little tip, and they just don't like it, you see. Falls away from it, and they're very seaworthy boats too. She can take a lot of rough weather. You take Gander Lake here, for instance. That's going to be as rough as any ocean that you've ever seen. The waves are very narrow, deep. But in salt water, you get the long, rolling wave. Actually, it's a different altogether. The weight on board does make a difference, of course, but they tend to, with a bit of movement, they tend to push the water away from the bow and right on back over the boat. A normal load, I'd say, not normal load, but overloaded, or a boat that's loaded. Right now you can take anywhere from probably 1,500, possibly a ton, 2,000 pounds. And years ago we used to carry 1,200 pounds, which was quite a load in those days. And there was a story, I didn't actually see it, but there was a story that a fellow did bring in a cow and a calf. Yes, when I was a boy down there, Newfoundland was an English colony then, of course, and most people we seen was people from England. And the lords and the knights and the kings and almost everything down there, actually. And you get those big fellows from England coming over here with the big two-handed rods, getting out there the big mustaches on, and really fishing. They could fish too, those fellows. The limit was 8 salmon a day with no seasonal limit. And I have got 8 a day, but no problem. But in those days, we didn't need them. We had no refrigeration, we had nothing like that, and the only way you could save a salmon was to salt the darn things. And nobody wanted to salt that many. So you didn't catch and throw it away. You just got one to eat, and that was it. You didn't fish for a full day. A lot of people are doing canoeing right now, just small canoes and just canoeing the river just for a couple of days, and that's a good trip too. But basically, the future of the river lies with the salmon.
Gene, you've been on this river a long, long time, haven't you?
Yeah.
I shouldn't say that. That makes you out to be that you're an awful old person.
Oh, about 30 years, I say, roughly around there.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Gene, this is an unusual item to see stretched across the river. Exactly what is it?
Well, there's some kind of cable car the government got there for testing the water.
That's for the salmon fishery?
Salmon, yeah.
So somebody actually gets in that box, goes across the river and stops at various intervals.
Definitely do.
That box doesn't look very big.
Not very safe by looking at my eyes.
He's got more nerve than me, I tell
Yeah.
you. Must be a well-paid civil servant.
It must be. I got it. Yeah. So,
When was the first time you experienced this trip down the river?
well, 9 years old.
Is that right?
Yeah.
By yourself?
No, no man. He brought me down one day, showed me a run. And he said, "Gene, you take it back." And so I took it back.
Was she in one piece?
I was in one piece. So from that day, after that, I was on my own.
Is that right? Well, that was a
Yeah.
young age to be
Now,
tackling the river like
It was a
this.
few times now. He come down with me again after that, you know.
Yeah.
Make sure I know the run. But a lot to learn. You got to know every tricks and trades on the river, right?
Well, we've seen an awful lot of rocks coming down here this
Yes.
morning, so I guess it's a situation where you can beat up a lot of props.
Yes, you got to know what to do, or else you got no profit left.
Well, even
I lose in fuel.
looking at the chutes, I mean, if you're not careful coming down that fast water, I'm sure you can flip them quite
Oh,
easily.
you will capsizing there.
Ever happened to you?
Very good. Not to me, but it did happen to a couple of others.
You were talking to me earlier, and you mentioned that a few boats did capsize here
Yeah.
this summer.
Yeah,
With a small family in it.
there was one there with 2 youngsters and a woman. And when they were shooting, when they got in the middle there, they all went one side. There, and they just flipped over. But thank God they had their life jackets on. Nobody got hurt.
Well, that's one of the main things.
Yeah.
Well, buddy, I'm anxious to get on the river again. It's beautiful scenery, so let's head.
Okay.
Will White land the mighty Atlantic salmon? Find out next on Newfoundland Sportsman.
Paul, I had no idea you built a lodge here in the Gander. Your front doorway is a little bit low.
Well, this is your own private little island here, you know. I can sell you this to you real cheap.
This is
can
your summer
sub-
residence?
You can sublet the basement to the boys. They'll pay for it.
Boy, what a job.
Yeah, it's a big one, isn't it? It's the biggest
Good
I've ever
quality
seen.
workmanship. A lot of hours gone into that. I don't think they get paid by the hour, those fellas.
Paul, why don't you walk inside and see how many rooms there are?
Can't find the front door. Look, they even got rocks there. Look the size of this.
How do you suppose I got there?
I'm sure that he used it for building material, but I never believed it. I always thought it was just some wood and mud. Amazing. Actually, some plants even starting to grow up here, look.
Well, they're nature's great engineers, aren't they?
They're amazing, aren't they?
Time now for Newfoundland Sportsman's Tip of the Week.
The smooth and proper presentation of your fly to a salmon will undoubtedly enhance your chances of angling success. A lot of experienced and inexperienced fly fishermen have problems casting during windy conditions. If the wind is in their face, they can't forward cast properly. And if the wind is at their back, it can cause their back cast to pile up, which means their forward cast isn't any good either. I'm going to be using our guide, Jack Jador, who's an expert at fly fishing, to demonstrate these techniques during windy conditions. When you're casting into the wind, it's best to cast sidearm, keeping your forward cast as low as possible to the water. By doing so, the wind's got little effect on it. Loft your back cast a bit so that the wind will actually help you straighten out your line. When you're casting with the wind, your casting technique is almost reversed from casting into the wind. Still cast sidearm, but keep your back cast low and shorter than you normally would. On your forward cast, aim higher so that the wind will catch your line, helping to straighten it out and adding some distance to your cast. Try these techniques for fly fishing on your next fishing trip during windy conditions. They'll help you cast properly and take some of the frustrations out of fly fishing on windy days.
If you haven't salmon fished before, you'll find it requires a lot of patience. Dwight and I fished several well-known pools during our first day on the river. And although we saw a lot of salmon jump, it wasn't until the second day of our trip, when we headed back upstream to Petrie's pool, that we first had some real action.
Whoa, there we go. Nice. Oh, gee, you lost it. Oh, gee, that's too bad. It was only after casting out about a half dozen times here at Peter's pool when all of a sudden the water exploded.
You digging down deep?
This strike was so sudden, I got myself and the crew completely by surprise. We must have jumped at least 2 or 3 times before we even got the cameras rolling. It's a wonderful feeling having one of these fish at the end of your line. I mean, the strength that they exert when they're pulling away from you is just amazing. I mean, you compare a salmon to, say, something like a mud trout. Mud trout digs down deep. And, you know, it exerts a fair bit of force, but nothing, I mean nothing compared to an Atlantic salmon. Oh, man, I tell you, pound for pound, what a fight, huh? What a gorgeous fish.
Oh, he's making a run again.
Woo! Well, this guy's digging down. I tell you, he made a couple dumps, but he's still digging down. That's a nice little salmon. Going again. This is a nice one, real nice one. Coming in. You ready, buddy? Coming in. I tell you, you need a half decent fly rod when you're at this racket.
Going again.
You know, the salmon exerts so much pressure on your rod tip that at times you're just expecting it to snap right off in front of you. Come on, I'll try and get him in this time. I'll get him over and we give it to him. Okay, he's coming. Okay, he's almost there, buddy. You see him? Someone's got I finally got the salmon in close. Germ's getting into position, getting ready to net it for me. And all of a sudden, bang, he's gone again.
Still not ready. Look.
Heading back out in deep water, and that's where he's staying most of his time.
Now he's getting that cool water over his body. Trying to get some energy back. You might have to go grab yourself in a few minutes. Whoa, there we go. Nice one, nice one. Woo! Boy, that's not a bad fish at all. Nice little fish. Let's see, about 4 pounds?
I tell you, these guys know their stuff. They said, boy, put on a blue charm. So I put on a blue charm. Thought the bug would always be better. And I say I didn't have any more than a half a dozen casts. Bang! Hooked into an Atlantic salmon. Great fighting fish. These guys are worth a weight and go, I tell you. Isn't that beautiful?
About a 4.5 pounder, I'd say.
He's a nice one. He's a beaut, I tell you. They put up one terrific fight. Jeremy, you were true to your word. You said we were going to get a salmon, and we got one.
He kept going for the fast water. He knew where he was heading for. Wasn't about to give up very easily.
Now that's what you call a nice fish. Look how fat he is. Huh? Down through the belly.
Yeah, nice size salmon.
Yes, sir.
He's got a bit of silver.
He's been in the water a little ways.
He's been in the river system. He's in the river a little while, but he's still got some. He's still got a little silver in him. He's not as black as.
See, we're a long ways up. We're about 20 miles up.
20 miles up.
20 miles from the ocean. So this guy's been in the
while to
water
get
for a
up.
way. Took him a little while. So as a result, when they're in the river system for a certain period of time, they started going from silver to a darker shade. I tell you, he never lost his spunk though on the fight.
Not a bit. Not a bit. Not a bit.
Must have jumped 3 or 4 times.
Well, we might have to add him to the pot tonight for with the Jig's dinner. I don't know, salmon and Jig's dinner. The beef is already on there and half cooked, so maybe we'll just do the job on him tonight.
That's worth the trip itself without even having to catch this guy. Oh, man, what a fight in that salmon.
There's this, sonny.
Fantastic.
Yeah. Where is he? I haven't seen him up close yet.
It's a vicious fight, but you wouldn't really know that this trip, would you?
Okay, how big was that?
5 pounds.
Yeah,
At least 5 pounds.
Let me see him before I believe what you
centimeters.
say.
It's just up there at the bank.
Okay, I'm going to go up and take a look at
Man, what a fish.
For more information on salmon fishing and guided river tours on the Gander River, contact Derm Flynn of Glen Eagles Enterprises. Call now to book an exciting river adventure on one of Newfoundland's finest rivers, the mighty Gander.
Well, folks, we had a fantastic trip exploring the Gander River. Dwight was even fortunate enough to get his salmon.
What do you mean fortunate?
I'll get mine next trip for sure. But it's just a perfect trip.
Sure was. Yeah. Folks, if you've never experienced the Gander River, it's all worth it, believe me. If you're coming here to fly fish for salmon or just taking the breathtaking scenery, it's worth every ounce of trouble. I want to thank Derm Flynn of Glen Eagle Enterprises and particularly our guides, Jean and Jack Jador.
And I want to thank you for joining us. And be sure to catch us again next week on the Newfoundland Sportsman.
So you're going to try for that salmon? I doubt it.
Glen Eagles supplied the salt meat and cabbage and the homemade wine, but the Sportsman supplied the salmon.
Right on.